Hey, good afternoon. This is Seniors Rule. We're here again today with a group from providing services or being a client for in-home support services. I know we've done a program this before, but we've had some feedback of actually how do I get into the system? The simplification of that. So IHSS, in-home support services, and the number one piece of information you need to understand is that this is a service that's available throughout Napa County, provided through Health and Human Services if you are on Medi-Cal. It's a program that's available if you're leaving the hospital and going home, if you're leaving a convalescent home or a skilled nursing facility and going home. So I have some wonderful guests with me today that I'm going to let introduce themselves and their role in this process. Amanda, you want to start?
Sure. I'm Amanda Hausman, and I'm a social worker for in-home support, and I've been doing it for the past 10 years.
Great.
And my name is Trevor Hardy. I'm a care provider through in-home supportive services, and I've been doing it for almost a year now.
Okay.
My name is Lonnie Lewis, and I'm a recipient, and I'm also the chairperson for in-home support services for IHSS Advisory Committee.
Great. Well, welcome to all of you, and I appreciate your taking time out of your day to see if we can simplify this process and the services for those viewers that we have. So Amanda, let's start with you. Let's say, and I have been in this position, I have a friend that I have responsibility for who has just gotten out of the hospital, excuse me, and ready to go home. They have two grown daughters that have been helping, but the nature of the disability, they're going to need some outside help. How do they start?
Okay, so the first thing that they would want to do is call our office at CSOA, which is Comprehensive Services for Older Adults. The phone number is 253-3818.
3818.
And they would want to talk to the IHSS on-duty worker. They would need to have the social security number of the potential client and then any contact information. They would also want to make sure that they had a good sense of what the individual needs in terms of their disabilities as well as what they can do. They would speak.
Oh, wait, sure. I'm going to be interrupting just to try to
clarify.
make this as clear as possible. So the family involved is not really aware of all of the needs. I mean, they've
Sure.
been doing some of the care.
Sure.
So if they talk to your person on the phone, excuse me, the individual they're going to get on the phone is going to know the questions to ask them for. Okay.
Yeah, and it's fairly basic information because we wouldn't do a complete assessment over the phone. We would just want to know if they're ambulatory, if they're able to report their own care needs, if they're able to toilet independently, not toilet independently, get a sense of why they were discharged from the hospital or what's motivating the reason for the IHSS referral.
Okay. So once they identify, and can they file an application over the phone, or does somebody have to go into the office?
No, they can call and make the referral. Any person can make a referral. It can be the client directly, or it can be somebody on their behalf. We only ask that if you're making a referral on somebody's behalf, that they're aware, because some people with good intentions make a referral and somebody doesn't want services. So that's helpful if they know. But they can make the referral, and you would want to say at the time of the assessment if you would like to be present the intake, if you want to be present for the assessment, if the client directly can report their needs, basic information, but we can take the referral over the phone.
Okay, and so what your assessment involves is a visit to the home?
Correct.
and you're assessing the needs as they've been expressed by whoever's referring.
Correct. So after the date of application, we have 30 days to do a in-home assessment. And the
Wait, to do the in-home assessment, which
Correct.
means during those 30 days or until that assessment is done, they do not receive any services.
So the services start from the date of application. So, for example, you had said that there was 2 daughters in place that were providing care. They have the option of becoming the provider of record or getting somebody else. But if they choose to be the provider of record, the care that they're providing from the date of application, they can get paid for.
Oh, and
Retroactively.
retroactively.
Yes, to the date of
Okay.
application.
Okay, that's good. That's good to know.
So we would go out to the home, do the assessment. We don't ask that the clients come to us. We need to see their living environment, what needs they have, so that we can refer for different supports, make sure that they have durable medical equipment, all of those types of things. The assessment, depending on the ability to report and the level of needs, can take anywhere from an hour to 2.5 hours if the person has significant care needs.
Okay. So having having an advocate or at least family members really does hurry up the system. I mean, make it more feasible for services to be quicker rather than.
It definitely helps if there's somebody in place that can support the client through the process. You know, there's several senior complexes in Napa that also have social workers on site that will make referral on a client's behalf, because you don't necessarily need to be leaving a hospital to get services. So, it's important to know that if you are going to be receiving services and you have somebody identified as a provider, that it can go back retroactively. The pay can go back
Okay,
retroactively.
so sitting to your right is Trevor. And Trevor has had to go through a process in order to be able to provide the care. You want to explain to us what you did to get on this list of caregivers?
Yeah, sure thing. I would like to state that I'd say a majority of the recipients of IHSS have their providers through friends and family, but there is that list of the registry where you can choose a provider off of that list. For example, with my recipient, I am a friend and family member of them, and so that makes it easier, and I think that that's also a good way to provide a more personal level of care for the person. But once you get onto that registry, you complete certain trainings, which are usually only a day long, and it's just policy and procedure through IHSS. And then you get put on the registry, and if someone needs a care provider, you get matched up with their needs based on your skills.
Do they do a background check on you?
They do, yes. They do it through LiveScan.
And I understand we're the only county in the state of California that requires a permit for caregivers.
Yes,
So
that's
you
what I
actually
understand.
can take that permit, whether you're on the registry or if you had other friends and family, you're with that permit. You can then work.
Can I clarify?
Yeah.
Okay. So Napa County is the only county, which is excellent. But they're two separate things. If you have somebody, for example, that is your neighbor and they don't qualify for IHSS, they would want to have somebody who has an active caregiver permit. If they're coming from the public authority, they've already been vetted, so they don't need to have a caregiver permit because essentially they already have one. They just don't have the actual permit itself. And the process that Trevor had to go through was attending an orientation that the state requires, making sure that the social security number is valid, and then also getting fingerprinted through LiveScan. And at times people have said, oh, well, I've been fingerprinted before I work for the school district. Because of confidentiality laws, it has to be specific to our county.
That really is good to know, and I think a good thing that can't be too careful.
Right.
So.
Right.
So you want to give him so you're the recipient becomes your boss. so to speak.
Yes, that is correct.
And who decides how many hours a week of service that you can provide to your
That's
client?
actually something that the social worker decides in the in-home assessment based on the needs of the recipient. There is a maximum amount of hours, which is 283 hours, and that's per month. And but there are a lot of people who don't need that many hours, and so it's based on how many they're allotted through
Okay.
the assessment done by the social worker.
Okay, Lonnie, what services you define based on the assessment? What services that you need from a caregiver?
Well, actually, Amanda is my social worker, and she's the one who determines what needs I need, and they're in different categories. I have cancer, and I have really bad neuropathy. I have a seizure disorder. I've had 2 strokes. So I kind of go up and down the chart. Where I have, when I'm sick, I end up getting decubitus ulcers on my body that sometimes take, one time it took like 2 years to fix it, and 2 skin grafts.
So you essentially need someone in the home with you.
I'm lucky because I have somebody in the home. He's not part of IHSS. He's a roommate, but he's there in the evenings, and in the evenings he has a full-time job in case something happens to me. Like literally 2.5 weeks ago, within like an hour and a half time when Trevor got there, I had 6 grand mal seizures. When he got to my house, he found me on the floor.
So your decision, you're the one who makes the decision if he gets you want to give her back, as to how many hours a month
Right.
that is needed. Do you also list these are the parameters in terms of the services
Right.
that the caregiver would provide?
Correct. So,
Well, let me ask one
sorry.
more question.
Sure.
In terms of Trevor, excuse me, Trevor, but at my age, you look about 12. So the kind of experiences that Trevor has had, if he says, I'm comfortable with dealing with a grand mal seizure, do you assess that at all, or that's the call? If Lonnie's comfortable with that,
Right. So I'll start with the first part. When we do the assessment, it's ideally done, not ideally, but we look at the worst day. So when their care needs are going to be the greatest, and we assess based on that. We have regulations that we have to follow. So there's maximum hours in certain categories. So the areas that we cover when we're doing the assessment are all the domestic and related things that an individual needs, which would include housekeeping, laundry, grocery shopping, errands, meal preparation, meal cleanup. And those are all capped by the state and the program. Then we go into personal care areas. So that could include assistance bathing, assistance toileting, assistance transferring, assistance walking, getting dressed, going to medical appointments, assisting somebody with wound care if they need it, making sure that they take their medication, if they have respiratory devices that they need, and then if they're diabetic, for instance, making sure that their diabetic care is covered. Based on what's reported, we come up with a monthly sum of hours. Even though we're doing the assessment on a daily basis, the client is given a notice of action that will have the monthly amount of hours. And it's broken down in every area that I covered.
oh, okay.
And so it would be up to Lonnie, when he receives the notice of action, to schedule his needs accordingly based on the assessment. Because IHSS is really client-driven, I don't have any ability to coordinate any aspect of the client's care. So that's why it's really important to have a family member or an advocate in place if you're not able to do that for yourself.
Okay.
The individual, He's over 16. If
No, I'm seeing the.
no, but I was going to say, actually, providers, as long as they can get a work permit, they can be younger, and the relationship is between the two of them. So I don't have any influence on who he chooses or not. And that's one of the good things about IHSS, is that we don't have the ability to tell you, you can't provide care for him. I want this person. It's really client driven.
Well, that I think is very positive. I mean, if Lonnie wasn't comfortable with Trevor, for example, then he could terminate him. I'm
Correct.
assuming it works both ways.
Correct.
But when you have when you're disabled, having some choices as to who provides you
Absolutely.
your support is very important. We're going to take a break, and we're going to switch clients, so we'll be right back. We're back, and as you will note, we have switched recipients. And I wanted to have Doug, this is Doug Weir, and I wanted to have Doug join us so that we could see that Lonnie described his disabilities, and Doug obviously, in terms of the services that he needs, he does use a wheelchair, and so that places other demands on a caregiver. So before we go to Doug, the caregiver that you choose must be able to meet the specific needs. So do you work for anybody besides Lonnie?
Yes, I also work for Lonnie's mother, and she has much different needs than Lonnie does. But to follow up with something that Amanda said earlier, having that choice of who's providing care for you is so important, because that's what